What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Combat Corporation, your source for combat sports. I'm your host, Al the Postmaster Morrow, and today I have a gear review on the Combat Sports Max Strike MMA gloves. Alright folks, as always, I am incredibly excited to bring you yet another gear review, as today I have the Combat Sports Max Strike training gloves. Probably the most requested MMA glove that I get on the channel is this one, because I think everyone has seen these or at least used these at some point in their life. Every gym I've been to, I see someone using these. I have a couple teammates that use these. I've used these over the years. In fact, this is my second pair of these that I've had. I had an older pair, but I either left them at a gym or they were stolen out of my bag, were the two options I kind of came up with. But these gloves are basically referred to as the old reliable of the MMA training glove world. Whether it be a sparring glove or a training glove, they are good for everything. You can hit the bags, you can spar with these, and this really kind of set the precedent of a bunch of other gloves out there on the market. I mean, as far as these go, these really, a few other brands kind of took a lot of what these gloves did, almost to an exact copy in a lot of ways. Some brands do some things a little different, some brands do the same exact thing, but Combat Sports really kind of developed the puffy, hidden style of MMA glove. They've been around for a long time, but Combat Sports, in my opinion, really kind of perfected that. Combat Sports has been around for a very long time. They're actually the same brand as Ringside. So Ringside and Combat Sports are under the same banner, which would be Combat Sports Brands, LLC, I think. And basically, they are owned by the same company. But Combat Sports has been famous for a very long time. I want to say they started in the mid to late 90s, if not the early 2000s. And you can see them being featured in the UFC, actually, when it came to the Ultimate Fighter on the first couple seasons. Everything they had, whether it be, you saw the coaches using mitts, you saw the fighters using MMA gloves that actually had this style of glove. It wasn't exactly this. They've obviously changed their logo art and stuff since then. But they used MMA gloves, kickboxing gloves, their shin guards, and everything through Combat Sports on the Ultimate Fighter. So you can go back and see these basically in their primitive form, I guess you could say, and you can see how they use those, which is a really, really cool thing to see how they've developed since. But, I mean, as far as modern day goes, you can talk about a ton of fighters throughout history that have used these, between John Jones, Anderson Silva, Conor McGregor. Even in the last Embedded series, or the last couple Embedded series, I saw Kamaru Usman, Justin Gaethje, outside of using their Onyx stuff, they were using these to hit mitts with and stuff, you know. And same thing, I've seen other champs like Robert Whittaker use these. I have seen Israel Adesanya before his Engage deal use these, and a bunch of other champions have used these. Even Khabib Nurmagomedov I've seen use these in the Embedded series, Daniel Cormier and stuff, even before their Adidas deal. So all these different guys that I've named that are all household names as far as the world of MMA goes, some of the greatest of all time have used these, and there's still guys to this day that use these. You can look at any Embedded or any UFC fighter or in a gym. I mean, if you look at a good example, actually, if you go on Sean Strickland's Instagram and see he always posts sparring videos, look throughout the room at the sparring. If they're using MMA gloves like these, I guarantee you'll see at least one in that video. That's how famous these gloves are. And finally, the last thing to talk about, the type of gloves that these are in the world of MMA. I remember my friend Jeff was telling me that he was on Reddit a couple years ago, and Joe Lozon was doing a thing called an Ask Me Anything forum, and someone asked him, what's your favorite pair of MMA gloves? And he said, I use Combat Sports Max Strikes. I think they're the best out there, and I make all my guys use them, because he has a gym in Massachusetts, which I actually have a few friends that train down there. So so if he's saying that, a vet like himself, and he's making his whole team use it, then that's definitely a attribute to this glove for sure, is that it is what we call the old reliable of the sport. In my terms, I basically call them the winning of the MMA world. So they are world famous, and they've been requested for that reason. So let's go ahead and go into my model. First, you have 3 different sizes to choose from, and I have the XL. They have regular size, regular size, large, and extra large. So I'm assuming that a bunch of regular size would be maybe anywhere up until maybe 170 about, and then large, I'd say 170 to like 200 maybe, and then 200 plus, like heavyweight is the XL. Assuming that their hands are bigger for the size of their weight and stuff like that. And then they come in 3 different colors, and I chose red because red and black. I had blue and black last time, but you can get red and black, blue and black, and white and black. And basically, it's the same thing that you see here. I'll post the pictures across the screen like usual, but it's the same thing you see here, but if it was blue, obviously, it would be blue in the red spots, and it would be white in the red spots for the white. And they only come in the Velcro closure and in one size as far as weight. I believe they all weigh 7 ounces is what these weigh in at. Most MMA sparring gloves would be 7 to 8 ounces. I have not seen many that are bigger than that. Fight gloves are 4, usually. Amateur fight gloves are 6. But as far as sparring goes, 7 ounces is usually what you get. So you all got that size. Going into the look of the glove, when we turn it around, you can see the back of the striking surface. When you flip it upside down, it has that nice, big, bold Combat Sports logo, that classic black and white logo. Although when they first came out, it looked more like this, with a white background on the wrist strap here, but I'll get back to that in a second. The rest of the striking surface is all that nice cherry red color, and it pops out really good because I like that they do the red, blue, and the white, because those are usually the colors of the posts that you're going to get in the cage. The red corner for, the guy that comes out last, and blue for coming out first, and then you got white for the neutral corner. I think they have a different form of sparring glove that comes in black that looks similar to this, but it's not the same thing. So I think maybe they should add black as a colorway too. I think people would like that. But going back to this, is all red here, and then when we come to the back, right here through these grooves, you can see the diamond grooves. I guess you could say that's a little bit of a design and look, but it has a nice little diamond groove all throughout. That's just the texture of the vinyl, kind of like ringside apex. And then when we come down here, you have red piping throughout here on the wrist strap, and once again we got a rubber patch right here that has the old school Combat Sports International logo. That's how it usually looked, and there's still some stuff that they have that has that logo. When you turn it around too, you can see that the cage link is all throughout the wrist strap here, and the wrist strap has all those cage links, and on each glove it actually changes in color. So this would be blue and this would be white if you chose those colorways. Down to the bottom of the glove, you can see the red piping here. That is throughout the glove. And then on top of it, you can also see the black bar at the bottom. When you open the glove up a little bit, you can see not only does the thumb and the hand compartment have black inlays with red piping, you can also see here that there's tiny little, it looks like white because of the light on it, but they're like gray little dots that are going throughout the material here. That's just the texture of the material as well. When we talk about the design of the glove, I really like how unique it is, and really the thing that makes it stand out for most MMA sparring gloves is that hinge style of knuckle. And usually I start out with the outer shell and the interior padding, which I'll get to in 1 second, but this is what makes the glove really functional for grip and stuff, is this nice hinge style of like a door hinge. It actually says on their website, this nice door hinge style of stitching that goes on here. So basically what it is the glove is 2 separate entities. You have the bottom that attaches to your hand and keeps your wrist stable. Then you have the top that allows you to open and close easier because of the way that it's stitched. And you can actually see that this is actually, this top part is stitched underneath here, which allows it to be free and floating. So when I put it on and I strap it, right, when we come here, I'm opening and closing it super easy. Makes it very easy to grip, very easy to open, very easy to close and punch at the same time, which is very good. It allows me to have good, proper punch position, which is great. Whereas some other gloves are too tiny and compact, and it kind of smushes your hand down and everything, and that really makes it difficult to have an easier go. at that, if that makes any sense. So you really want to have that type of the hinge style knuckle with a bigger glove. I know a lot of people don't like the big bulky glove feel, but I don't think it feels big and bulky at all because of how light the glove is. Which, going into the lightness and the weight of the glove, we'll talk about what the glove is made out of now, and that is the top part is different from the bottom, and that the top is made out of a genuine leather. The striking surface has a genuine leather top, and you can definitely tell the difference of the texture, and on the website it says the same thing. So this is all genuine leather with a decent thickness of the hide that's going over top of the padding. And the padding is your basic ringside foam, as most people will call it nowadays, is ringside foam, but IMF Tech, your injected molded foam that is throughout here. And it's a little bit more compact in these than it is the boxing gloves because it's a smaller surface area, but it's still actually a really soft feel for IMF Tech, and because it's in a smaller space, I don't think it risks bubbling as much, but it does kind of warp in shape, I've noticed, if you use these more for bags than you do sparring, but still the padding stays just as thick on both. You can see that the padding is still pretty thick on both sides. So that's something that I really like about these gloves, is that they maintain their shape really good. Unlike some other gloves I've used with IMF Tech, they don't work that well. That molded foam sometimes will bubble really easy and sometimes will warp. Not really good, because once that happens, then it starts to break apart. But with these, I haven't seen it happen. But I have seen it happen with other guys that have used these, but for well over 2 years or more. So these gloves definitely have a good shelf life as far as that goes. But going around to the back, you can see we kind of have like that turtle design, you know, the little turtle shell brackets on the back, and that's kind of like how it how some other ringside and combat sports gloves will do it. Some other brands have that like wrist splint system going like that. And basically what this is, it's like 3 pieces of denser, it's still decently soft, but it is denser closed cell EVA foam, and what that does is it stabilizes your wrist on the back so it stays to it and it folds around. If it was one solid bar, it would just kind of sit, and then the other spots would be like coming up like this, where it'd be wrapping around your hand like that, because it's flexible, and you can see how it can bow in and curl. This way you can see how it bows in like that. So that's what you want with that wrist padding. Coming to the wrist strap, it is a very long wrist strap, which you have a lot of length that you can actually get out of it, and you can pull it out if you need to make it even, you know, looser to put your hand on the inside, and it comes out all the way, so if you need to feed it through. The only thing I just don't like about MMA gloves that do this is I don't think there's a need, you can't see it obviously, but there's no need for a metal band inside of here. I don't think you need metal. I think it would be good if you just had the material without the metal with a little slit in there, and then I think it would actually make it nice and tighter around your wrist for more support than that metal band, because this is what I have seen happen with some other gloves, like the pair of Fly MMA gloves that I had within a couple weeks, even after treating the glove and cleaning them, just this popped right out and it rusted. Which, why would you have metal on a glove that's involved in the sport with a bunch of sweat and all those other things, right? So that's one thing I don't get. Going back down to the wrist strap though, you also have this nice bar, nice solid piece of EVA foam here with some breathe holes that are going throughout it. Now, like I said too, going back to this, I said the top of the glove was that nice leather. Down here is all vinyl. It feels like a nice vinyl material or an engineered leather material. So I like how they did that, because I think that will work a lot better. I guess you could say, like here on the thumb, it feels a little bit more like a leather material, but like a cheaper leather than what's up top here. This feels more like that. But here it feels a little bit like a genuine leather. Like not the, when people hear genuine, they think, oh, it's real leather. That's basically it. It's the bottom line. Genuine leather means that yes, it has some leather, but it's made out of very, you know, fine scraps, basically is all it is. Up here it feels more like a nice thick top grain leather compared to a genuine leather down here around the wrist and on the wrist strap. But at the same time, I also get that vinyl feel, and it doesn't smell too much like a leather. It smells more like a vinyl. But the website says that the whole thing is made out of leather. I don't know if I agree, because this is clearly the same vinyl that they use on Apex, their Apex series. Going to the interior strap, the interior lining, it is made out of a poly cotton, and it is a very nice poly cotton. It's not soft, it's kind of rugged, but it dries out very quickly and it's very comfortable, and there's tons of room for me to put hand wraps in here. The other thing I love about the glove is the thumb safety, because it has those little lockings right here, more EVA foam, that lock into your bottom and top joint pretty good. And that way when you go to punch, because sometimes when we, it's not like boxing where we're always closed when we're punching. Sometimes we'll punch and we have to be a little open to go grab every now and again. And sometimes you jam your thumb when you do that, when you're in MMA. So I really like that they have that nice safety feature here. Like I said, you can really, let me put this back through. You can really wrap your hands up good with these, and I'll show you. Usually the rule that the Athletic Commission showed me was in order to know if you have enough room, if your glove is big enough, take 2 fingers and put it underneath, and if you have enough room there, that's the amount of padding you should allocate to the glove. So I have, and then close your fist. So I have my 2 fingers here. It doesn't feel like my fingers getting crushed, doesn't feel like I'm grabbing onto anything uncomfortable. I can close my fist entirely like that. So 2 fingers underneath here works really well. So there's tons of room to wrap your hands if you need it. But let's go into the bag work and the model view, and we'll be right back with my final thoughts. So when it comes to hitting the bag with Combat Sports Max Strike training gloves, I really love the protection that you get with these for a rounded MMA sparring glove. The grips are absolutely amazing for your tie grips, and you can really lay into the bag, and it gives really nice leverage. They're nice and light on your hand. They don't feel heavy, and they don't feel bulky compared to a lot of other gloves out there as well. You can let your hands fly, and you can really hit as hard as you need or want to on the bags simply because of the nice IMF Tech padding and because of how thick the padding is. It's basically having a boxing glove with grips, like really, really good grips on your hands. Very awesome for bag and mitt work. So as I said before, you can see the nice Combat Sports logo there. You can get very good S grips in these and your gable or palm-to-palm grips. The hinge motion makes it pretty good to open and close your hand. You get nice good grips underneath your neck as well as over underhooks behind the head. And overall, they look sharp. And that's the one thing I love about these is that they are a basic looking glove with a sharp texture to it. And you can see why so many pros use gloves like these. Overall, they look good. They perform really well. And I think they are going to be a nice addition to your collection. So enjoy using these gloves. All right, guys, so my final verdict on the Combat Sports Max Strike training gloves is, for me, like I said earlier, they are the winning of the MMA world, right? So when it comes to that, what I mean by the winning of the MMA world is that I feel like they work for everybody. I could give these to everybody, and maybe they might have a minor complaint here or there, just like some people like Reyes over winning or Grant over winning, right? But at the end of the day, if I gave them these, it worked for them. And that's the one thing that I like about this. I love gloves like these because for me, it offers perfect stability with your wrist, with your knuckle padding, with your thumbs, with proper punch position. It allows you to wrap your hands so you're good. And on top of it, the padding is perfect for sparring. That's really what these are made for, because back in the day, and people still do, we do it to this day, is we'll spar with big gloves and shin guards is what we say. So boxing gloves and shin guards. But this really makes it easy to spar with these types of gloves. Is it easier to get hurt in these? Yes. Obviously, it's a smaller surface area. So it's like, I always tell people, instead of a big rubber mallet, you're hitting someone with a sharp point of a drill. One's going to pierce through a lot easier, right? And that's the idea behind these. It's much of a smaller surface area, but the padding is so soft and it's so bulbous that it's separating my knuckles from the target enough to where not only does it keep my hand safe, but it keeps my sparring partner safe, and that's what we need, right? I don't need guys coming into the gym that are wearing those Centuries that they bought from Dick's Sporting Goods that have, just stiff bag padding on the inside of it and then sparring those, because that happens more often than you think, trust me. But when it comes to these, they work really, really well. Like I said, the composite of the glove is leather on the top. It's a nice top grain leather here. It says that the rest of the glove is made out of leather, which I can see grain marks and I can see that it feels that way, but it's definitely not the same grade of leather. And in fact, it just feels and kind of even smells like a vinyl material more than it does up here as a leather. So overall, still, because of that, I honestly would welcome if this was leather and the rest was vinyl, because I think that would promote the glove to be more durable for the sport of MMA. Punching, I always prefer leather over a lot of other materials, and a lot of people are like, well, why? It's harder to treat. Yes, but if you treat it right, it lasts a long time. The other thing, too, is that with down here, the leather we can treat with strikes and everything like that, and with grappling, it doesn't grind quite as much, and it doesn't rip like some vinyls will on MMA. A strong vinyl or a strong microfiber or engineered leather works great. Like Hayabusa, for me, has some of the best stuff that you can get. Combat Sports, I think, is up there as well. Because Hayabusa uses that microfiber leather that doesn't rip as easy as a fake engineered style of leather. I prefer more of like a vinyl style, if that makes any sense. And that's what we have here on the bottom of the glove. The wrist support hugs my wrist, like I said, because of that turtle shell bracket. So this stays on the back while this folds around the other joints, these two here, and that foam stays really durable. The foam and the knuckle padding is really, really durable as well. It doesn't break apart. I've had this particular pair of gloves since early January. So they are definitely in good shape for just, we're getting close to 6 months about, right? 4 months. So let's see. I got to do math, folks. January, February, March. We're almost in April, almost done with April. This coming week will be the end of April, and then May. So about 4 months I've been using these, we'll give or take, right? And these gloves are still looking the same. The only thing that I see as far as cosmetics, which I don't worry too much about cosmetics, because the glove looks kind of good, I like how it looks, is that sometimes this logo is more like a screen print, and it is flaking off in some areas. You can kind of see it fade a little bit throughout here. And the other thing is that the paint, I noticed at the top of this glove, right here, it looks a little tan there, like the leather color itself. And that's basically the only thing I would say about that. But the wrist support is good. It's comfortable on the hand. It dries out easy. There's tons of room to wrap your hands. The padding works really good, and it's nice and durable. They are still easy to clean. One wipe of a disinfectant wipe just down, and these gloves are good to go. If you want to treat the leather, which I think these are due to be treated, I have not treated these yet. Usually I do before I record stuff, so it looks nice and shiny for the camera. But I sat down and I said, these still look kind of shiny on the camera. So probably what I'll do after is I'll treat this. And usually when you treat the leather, it makes everything really soft and supple for about a day or two, and then it goes right back to being in its original form, and it feels like brand new again. So that's what I like about this. I think really the only thing I would change, and this doesn't bother me at all, like I'm rubbing it on my skin and it doesn't burn nearly as much, but the combat corner, I'm so sorry, the Combat Sports logo, I hope I don't get in trouble for that one. The Combat Sports logo is like this big rubberized patch. I just don't get that, especially because if you are grappling and God forbid that starts to come up and like cut or scrape someone, and like it is rubber, if I rub long enough it will burn. So I definitely would maybe just make it a sublimated thing on the wrist strap. But I mean, that's such a minor thing, and I've never had an issue with it, and neither have I ever had it with anyone that trains in these. Now the other thing is you've probably seen throughout the video, there is some like stitching that frays out here towards the bottom of the wrist, and then here on the thumb a little bit, you can see it, and then towards the bottom down here as well. And it's the same thing with the other glove. You get basically the same spots that have a little bit of fraying, but I mean, it's as easy as cutting those off, and they're not major stitches, they're the end seams. And they're the end of the end seams too, so they're not going to do anything to like rip the whole glove open. That's not going to happen. So if I had to give these gloves a rating, guys, between the performance and everything, I mean, it's just kind of like winning. You know, I think it was given away. Maybe some people say that I'm a bit too generous with my scores, but in with these gloves, I just think they really kind of encapsulate what you need as far as an MMA glove, and I give them a solid 10 out of 10. And the reason why is because not only do they provide good protection for you, they provide it for your sparring partner. They're also good to hit bags with. They're great to hit pads with. They're great to spar in. They're great to just do general workouts in. Like, whenever I go to the gym, some people think I'm crazy sometimes. I'll lift weights with my MMA gloves on so I know what that grip would feel like. And I can use these with those. Granted, I don't with these particular ones, but I have in the past, and I still do every now and again. and I might look like a nut job, but I get good grips with these. I get really good exercise out of it. So these gloves are really versatile. They're not too bulky. I know when you see gloves like these, you think they're bulky. Honestly, they feel less bulky than the smaller, more compact Combat Corner sparring gloves that I reviewed about a month or two ago because of the thin contour down here, and that this can really fold a lot easier. The grappling in these is another thing that really stands out because of the grips that you can get. Because of that hidden style of knuckle that is nice and spaced. It's not cramped. It's nice and spacious. This is what you're gripping with. Looks awful a lot like this, right? If I just keep doing this, it's the same exact motion. So it's contoured to your hand to get nice grips. Getting gable grips, your S grips or 8-finger grips, basket grips is what I grew up calling these, but I know a lot of people just call it plum grip. You know, or bar grips or butterfly grips. I call them bars. Our coach used to say, imagine you're sticking a bar under someone's ribs. But that's the idea, right? Behind all those grips. You can get them very easily and they don't just slip out to slip out. So that's something that's really nice about these gloves. The grip's amazing, the support's amazing, and the versatility of the glove sticks out. And I can see why champions around the world continue to use these. And on top of it, the pricing for these is cheaper than a lot of those other gloves out there. Like, you know, the Sandoval sparring gloves or Combat Corner sparring gloves and a couple other sparring gloves that are out there. With these, they run about, if you go on Amazon, $60 flat, which is a really good deal. If you go on the website at Ringside or Combat Sports, so they're $80 because they're not going through a you know, a different distribution specialist. Whereas Amazon, if you have Prime, they're Prime eligible, so it takes 2 days, or you can just buy them for $60 and maybe pay $5 to $10 of shipping, which is pretty cool. So at the end of the day, anywhere from $60 to $80 for a glove that can do everything that you need. And I also say they work for everyone from beginner level to intermediate to pro. And in fact, I recommend a lot of people when they ask me, well, where should I go if I want something that's just reliable, that I know it's going to protect me? I have this happen with a lot of my newer guys. I said, go to combatsports.com. Sometimes they get the fight glove and they're newer and they're not sparring quite yet, which is fine. But I have had a few guys that just go and they immediately get this and they swear by them. They say, well, they definitely feel good. There's not a really long break-in process either. I know I hit the bag for a couple rounds and these things felt like they were ready to go already. So definitely, if someone were to ask me, probably the best MMA versatile like sparring glove, or the Max Strike as it's called, it can do everything really well. My favorite MMA sparring glove, period, is probably the Asami pounding glove because of how soft it is, but that's specifically for sparring. When I say these are my favorite MMA glove, period, they're definitely there. I think they're up there. It's very hard for me to give a 1 through 10 list on anything because it all depends on how I feel every day, but I think these are probably one of the best MMA gloves out there, if not the top 5 for people to choose from. If I had to say the ones that I see people use most, this one's probably number 1. Then I'd go the Combat Corner sparring gloves I'm seeing a lot, and then the Sandoval ones are the 3 big ones I'm seeing nowadays. And Engage is getting really big in that. I see a lot of guys use Engage, but these work really well. So with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching this episode. If you have any questions about this, please comment below. As always, like and subscribe as well. It goes a long way to help the channel. But like I say every time, comment above all. Let me know what you want to see reviewed next. And let me know if I missed anything in this review. I love to get your feedback. And if you have any questions about these, like I said, comment or follow me on my Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook. I post to all except Twitter. I'm bad with Twitter, I won't lie. But I'm trying on everything else, and you can message me on there. And I've been really going through my messages lately. My Instagram was messed up and like put everything into like a spam folder for some reason, so I couldn't see it. Now I'm starting to respond to everybody. So I really appreciate everyone responding and getting back to me on that. Thank you for your patience. So I hope to talk to you all soon. Thank you so much for using your source for combat sports, the Combat Corporation. As always, I'm Al the Plus Master Morrow, and I'll see you on the next one. All right, folks, have a good one.